Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the updates from the Move United Competition Department as part of the Move United 2020 Fall Competition Meetings. My name is Shelley Fazzini, and I'm a competition manager with Move United, formerly Adaptive Sports USA. For those of you who may have missed today's session or any of the sessions over the next 2 weeks, they are going to be recorded and made available on the Move United website. We'll make all of those recordings available at the end of the series, and we'll send out a link for easy access. Before turning the show over to our speakers today, I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping items. All attendees will be on mute to minimize any distractions. So please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions. Feel free to use the chat feature if you want to introduce yourself or say hello. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Susan Rossi.
Thank you, Shelley, and hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well out there. As Shelley mentioned, my name is Susan Rossi. I'm sure I've met you all or know you all, but I am the newly created competition director for Move United, and I also, for a couple more, about another month and a half, where the executive director hat closing up Adaptive Sports USA as well. So very excited for the next 13 days. We're going to sprinkle in some meetings here regarding competition for Move United. This is geared towards our event directors of the Move United competition series, as well as some of our partners and sport allies. So again, glad you're here. Today's going to be a little bit more of us talking versus dialogue back and forth, but again, use the chat feature if you'd like. We just want to today give you some updates on what we've been doing, be very transparent of where we're heading and how we can have you guys at the table and be a part of all of this. And so we will do that. We'll get started now. Go ahead, Jesse. Here's a few things we're going to talk through today. We're going to update you all on the merge that has been going on between Adaptive Sports USA and Disabled Sports USA to become Move United. Hear from Glenn on where the organization is heading towards our Vision 2028. Hear from Jesse Cloy on our different goals in the competition department as they relate to that vision. And then I will give you a few updates as far as our main events, the competition series, junior nationals, as well as our place in the international space with the International Wheelchair and Amputee Sport Federation. We will round up this hour with a little description of who our competition committee is and what their roles are going to be, and then talk about the next 9 to 13 days, some of the meetings that'll be sprinkled in that we'd love you to attend. So here we go. I'm sure all of you know by now, but I want to make sure we are all on the same page and provide updates to you. So as we announced back in May, Adaptive Sports USA and Disabled Sports USA are merging and becoming Move United. That process has been going very smoothly, and we truly appreciate everyone that's been at the table and in those discussions and helping make that happen. So just so you know, it's not official yet. It will be soon at the close of this year in 2020. That will be completed legally, and we've been doing different things throughout the last few months to go towards that process. So everything from staffing to our brand to marketing, to our legal entity, all of those things have been being worked out. We've been discussing this with our key partners and sport affiliates and things like that, and so things are going smooth. Do want to update you on a few specific things on this. Jesse, if you want to move forward one slide. Like I said, the timeline, we began back, I think it was October, a year ago now, we began these discussions. And it will conclude at the end of the year. Anything moving forward, you will see Move United. So you will no longer see the Adaptive Sports USA or the Disabled Sports USA brand. Anything moving forward from here on out, any of the programs that are announced or the training opportunities will be Move United. We're really excited about that. And behind the scenes, a new website's being created. that kicked off, the planning for that kicked off a week or two ago, and will be launched early in 2021. So don't worry if you still see our website and the Move United website not completely streamlined just yet. That's in the process behind the scenes, and again, will be launched early 2021. For those of you that have been involved with Adaptive Sports USA for any of the last 60 years, we absolutely heard your voice in these discussions that you're excited about this merge and you want it to happen and you're looking forward to the future. But one thing that was a common theme was stressed was that we don't want to lose the legacy of both of those organizations. And we want to make sure the history is embraced of Adaptive Sports USA and Disabled Sports USA as well. So we're working behind the scenes on some things, making sure our Wikipedia pages are updated and making sure we have a collective timeline that we could present in the future of where we've all been throughout the years. I know we want to begin to collect some more oral interviews of people that have been part of our history, because those people have a lot of really cool, rich information in their head. And we want to make sure that that is put into paper and shared with the country. So those things are going on and they will continue to as we merge. Awards. For those of you that have been involved in Adaptive Sports USA, we've historically had our Hall of Fame. Rich history of honoring those that have been both athletes as well as professionals that have been serving athletes. And we will make sure that continues. We've been having conversations as a collective organization with the traditional Hall of Fame on the winter sports side through Disabled Sports USA, and the traditional Hall of Fame through Adaptive Sports USA on the summer sports side. We will bring that all together and under one umbrella and make sure that those amazing people are still recognized moving forward. And then one other big thing is obviously staffing. It has been, in my opinion, working very well and very fluid to bring Shelly, myself, and Jesse on board with the larger Move United organization. Today is actually Jesse Cloy's first day. High five to Jesse, pretty exciting. So Jesse, if you want to move forward one slide. This is a fluid document, the organizational chart. It's a work of art, and but I did want to give you a little bit of a glimpse on how everything fits together. And then hopefully when we reconnect in January, I'll introduce you to some more of the team members, as well as some of the people that fall below the directors here on this org chart. But in my opinion, one of the most exciting parts of this merge is just the banding together of this exciting team. There's just so much knowledge and so much expertise and so much energy behind this org chart that for Shelly, Jesse, and I, we were really excited. This is something that we didn't necessarily have the good fortune of having with Adaptive Sports USA as far as, you know, a staff structure like this. So there's amazing resources here at the table. Julia, who I'm sure you all know, works in the programs team, and under her is the training and education department, Ski Spectacular, a lot of the good work being done with Warfighter Sports and with the new Wheelchair Football League. So you'll start to hear, if anyone's new to Move United, you'll start to hear more about that moving forward. Dave working with the marketing and development side of things, and Sean and Jackie with him that produce the Move United magazine and publications and podcasts that I'm sure you'll be a part of and see. Bill and James in the operating as far as finances and some of the data. And then you see myself. This is a new addition to the org chart, and Shelly and Jesse will be joining me. We will also have a volunteer-based competition committee that we'll talk about later today within that structure. And then Cheryl Collins, who has been with Move United for decades, I'm going to say, for a long time. She's been doing great work. Glenn can address this as well, but she is in a newly created diversity, equity, and inclusion role, which is new to the organization and something that we are taking great pride in and putting resources behind, as it's an important topic. And Kylene is someone you may all work with in member services. Everything we talk about through this competition series discussions over the next 2 weeks is going to start with membership. So we want any of the events that we're working with to be members of Move United, and Kylene is that first point of contact. So it's pretty exciting. And again, we'll get to make sure you guys get to know all these people and who to reach out to for what. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Glenn Mary, who is the Executive Director of Move United and leading the way to our Vision 2028. And he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah,
Glenn?
thanks, Susan. And I think I've had the chance to meet several of you either by phone or in person over the last couple of years. I joined Disabled Sport USA in August 2 years ago. And I came to the organization after 20 years with Olympic and Paralympic rowing, where I was the CEO there for 13 years. I retired after the Rio Games and was kind of looking for a new way to use my experience in sports management and my attention to serving people, finding a way to give back into the sports community, because sports has been a really powerful part of my life in propelling me into college, keeping me in school, moving me forward, and helping other people that are close to me. So when the position came up at what was then Disabled Sport USA, I was really intrigued by, we had worked with them when I was at rowing on our manual for adaptive sport, because we started adaptive rowing and Paralympic rowing in 2002 and had to build out a network and education plan around that. But as I went through the process and got to know the people, it became even more evident how much potential and the direction that we can take as a movement. And over the last 2 years, I'm really proud of the team that we've assembled, and bringing on Susan and Jesse and Shelly to be part of Move United is just kind of the feather in the cap of where we're headed as a group. The competition opportunities that brings, the merger of Adaptive Sport USA and Disabled Sport USA together really ties together a vision for where we want to be as an adaptive sports movement within the United States in preparation for the Los Angeles 2028 games. And what I know happens to a host country as they bring the Paralympics, whether it's London, Rio, or Beijing, and how that host country benefits from the increased attention and focus around people with disabilities and the capabilities that the athletes have. I really believe that as we move into summer of 2028, if we have our network prepared and we have the education and training resources for parents and families, that we'll see a huge influx in interest and participation. But as I look at what Move United is now, when I came on board, I had the luxury of working with Kirk Bauer, who is our outgoing executive director after 40 years of running Disabled Sports USA. And the first few months, we worked shoulder by shoulder, meeting stakeholders, important partners, some of you in the community. And as we went into January of 2019, we started to collectively look at the strengths and opportunities that we had within our organization. And the underlying thought was, how do we ensure that we're the recognized leader in adaptive sports? And everything kind of flowed from that. And Susan's going to take you through some metrics around competition's placement within several visions that we laid out. Some of those are getting a little stale, actually after only a couple of years. We have had some great successes, including this merger and bringing our community together. But we are the national leader when it comes to community adaptive sport. After the merger and with additional recruitment of other organizations and redefining our membership, we're almost 200 organizations strong. And that network spans across more than 43 states. There may be another slide that also kind of addresses the geography of this. One of the visions that I have is that as an organization, we don't just need to have a presence in each state, but we need to be within a reach of 90% of the population. And prior to COVID, that really, I was thinking about bricks and mortar chapters and member organizations that you could drive to and participate in hands-on training and sports activities and competitions. And that still remains really a critical part of this vision. But one thing that COVID taught us was we have reach beyond just the brick and mortar where we all exist. Since April 1st, with our partners in our member organizations, we've put on more than 1,100 events, sessions, and training opportunities online. And an audience of more than 250,000 have participated in those 1,100 events just since April. It doesn't replace what we do in person, and we will return to in person as soon as it's safe to do so and as soon as we're able to do so. But what we did learn is 90% of the population being within a short drive of our chapters isn't enough. We can actually reach 100% of the population with virtual programming. And so you'll see an expansion into that. We believe that sports has the power to change lives. And all of you that are on this call already know that because you've been involved in this space for many of you decades longer than I have. I've been involved in this space since 2002 with the Paralympic side. But I've been involved with people with disabilities since I was young and inside my own family. I believe there's a lot of opportunity to change America's view and the culture within America to think beyond what they first see and be more inclusive in how they design society. And that starts with sport. I think the next slide talks more about Move United. I'm not going to read through the slides. I think a lot of these things are kind of interesting facts, but I think to get across to you where we want to go is to get to the vision of the organization. And the next slide, 2 years ago, we set off with the directors, the senior management staff at Move United to talk with them about what's possible. I used the phrase, what if, and how could we go about this a lot in my conversations with leadership, whether that's the board of directors or the team that I work with. And we quickly talked about maybe 24 concepts of expansion and growth and what would happen if we didn't just incrementally serve people, but what if we just knocked it out of the park? What if we took some moonshots to see how many thousands of people we could engage? And so this is a living document in the sense that we wanted to set some moonshots between now and 2028 that we thought we could land some of them. The one that I think was the quickest to achieve was around safe sport and ensuring that we had policies and procedures in place to safeguard our athletes, and remembering the context of the last 2 to 5 years where other sports organizations have not been responsible in that space. And when I came in, I was a little surprised that we didn't have policies and procedures in place. So across our chapter and member network, we do have sport protections in place and created partnerships to help reduce the costs of implementing those. But a lot of these are metrics that you would see in a lot of sports business organizations or nonprofits. Some of them are not so easy to define. What does it mean to be the national leader and the #1 resource? Well, it's leading by example and providing the best services and resources that your member network requires and needs, even when they don't realize it. Expanding out the growth of the sport, and talk again about Vision 3, which is 90% of the Americans will have access to our sport. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I think key components around veterans and taking the 15,000 veterans that we've already served and their families and doubling that between now and 2028. And on the youth side, quadrupling the number of youth. There's tremendous numbers of people who are not active, that are isolated, that are not engaged, and we need to change that. And we have the power to change that. We have the megaphone, we have the partners, we have the corporate sponsors and the interest behind it, and societal interest has changed. If you read the media over the last year and a half, there's an increasing focus around people with disabilities, from celebrating some of the pioneers in the space that have either recently passed on or have been part of the celebrations around the 30th anniversary of the ADA, or if it's celebrating at the local level, athletes' inclusion in sport or adaptive sport competitions, which all of us are familiar with, right? One of the things that's really critical to the continuous financial success of our organization is making sure that as we grow as an organization, we're providing additional resources and support to that growing network. So we can't just say, hey, we want to have 400 member organizations without scaling up what those revenues look like. So part of our goals are around the amount of money that we're bringing in to push back out to chapters, members, partners, events, and competitions. The other piece of that that's really intrinsically built into it is that we're the source expert and use research-driven metrics around what we do. Sponsors want to work with people who can demonstrate that they've moved the needle, that they've had an impact. And so a lot of times, what you'll see from us is follow-up surveys, follow-up not just on numbers served, but what are the outcomes? How did people start in their interaction with our member network? And where did they end up after 6 months? Where did they end up after 2 years? How have they ended up after a lifetime of being engaged with us? Are they working? Are they engaged professionally? Are they healthier? Are they still isolated? Simple questions around kind of the CDC index of health and welfare, and understanding kind of how we are impacting our community to more accurately reflect what the overall American community looks like. We went through this branding exercise, and it was going to happen irregardless of a merger, but it really came together in this very fluid way when the merger conversation started, because it was really about aligning both organizations, which had tremendous histories together, continuing to celebrate that, but to add energy and infuse passion out into the American community by creating a movement that our entire adaptive sports community can unite behind. And if you think about those two words coming together, that's not where those two words came from, but it really reflects where we ended up. And I can't say enough for Susan's leadership in this space, and Clayton, the board chair, and Joe, who were instrumental in kind of the day-to-day workings of this merger. And so part of our merger has been bringing Joe and Clayton over from the ASUSA board into Move United board. And their first meeting was just last Monday. So the two organizations are really fused together now. And as we move forward, I think you'll continue to see the aggressive growth and an attitude towards what is our future? What can we do? What if we tried harder to succeed? What does it look like when we bring in new partners? So far this year, we saw a 40% increase in revenue for the organization. That was on top of a 27% increase the year before. So far, we've seen the amount of revenue going back out in the form of grants more than doubling over the past year to our member organizations. So far, we've seen the additional partnerships come forward with major national partners that we'd never had before, like Citi, and the continued grooming and nurturing and care of longtime partners like the Hartford and the VA, who both of our organizations have benefited from in the past. So we'll continue to grow this out, and we'll continue to listen to our constituents and continue to engage not just the leaders in the space who are running our member organizations and competitions, but also the athletes and the individuals that we're serving. Make no mistake, this effort around inclusion and diversity is very reflective of, unlike my predecessor, I don't have a physical disability. I don't have a visible disability. So I want to make sure that I am collecting the voices from our community that can help better guide the direction that we should be doing. Because without them, we shouldn't be making actions on their behalf. So I'll end it there. I know Susan has a lot to talk through, and I think I've used more than my 30 seconds per slide. So it's really nice to meet all of you. I look forward to engaging you. I know we have a bunch of meetings I won't be part of over the next couple of days, but I think 2021, let's hope it's not as stressful as this year. Let's hope that we're back in person where we can spend that time hands-on with each other. And I look forward to seeing many of you at your competitions in 2021. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate all those words, and just hope you guys hear from him and see his energy that Glenn and the rest of the team with Move United is really, really excited and fired up about the addition of this competition department. So, you know, between the programs and the training and education and the competition, we're just really excited to move forward and tackle this Vision 2028 with all of you. So I know a few of you have seen this slide before and you've heard us talk about it, but I think just bringing it up and hearing where we're going is really important, as well as some of the things Glenn said about the key wins that have happened over the last year. Even though it's been a difficult year, it's been an amazing year of growth. So thank you, Glenn. And we are going to hand it over to Jessie in just a moment. She's going to basically talk through with each of you how our goals as a competition team feed into this overall Vision 2028 for the organization. And I know this can be a little bit dry to look through, but want to stress that you all have a part in this. And that's why we're going to show you all of our priorities that we have for the next year or two. We need your help at the table. You guys are doing the work on the ground and interacting with the athletes day to day and really feed into this work. And the other thing I want to mention before kicking off to Jesse is a lot of the work we're going to be doing is to try to create value and benefit for you and for the members. So we really want your transparency and your communication on an ongoing basis so that we could develop these tools that are going to be as most beneficial to you so that we ultimately attract more athletes. So many of you also know Jessie. She is a Paralympian in wheelchair racing. And Jessie, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, that would be great.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Jessie Cloy, and I have been junior committee chair with Adaptive Sports USA for the last couple of years. And like Sue said, I'm a Paralympian, 4-time Paralympian in track and field, retired, and happy and excited to be a part of today. It's my first day, so officially a part of the Move United team. Okay, so I will do my best to make these slides exciting as we go through the competition department goals as they relate to the broader Vision 2028. So starting us off, our first goal here is to enhance the current competition series through continual development of the sanctioning process. We want you to know that we are listening to you guys. We understand that the sanctioning process is a continual process, so we are striving to always improve and make it better and easier for you guys. We want to add value, like, to our series by including you guys all, and we see that value in pass-through funding and creating a toolkit that for event directors that will hopefully include different snippets of things that you guys could maybe just easily apply to your events, whether you're a first timer or have been doing this for many years. And then also to offer some education in the areas of, maybe coaching or officiating or classifying or other things that you guys may be looking for. And we, yep, that was it. Sorry. I had a thought and it was fleeting and it was gone. So our second goal is to increase efficiencies in the front end and back end data management system for competitions. So this is super thrilling for everybody, but data is important no matter, I think, what industry you're in right now. Tracking that data, collecting it, what's the best way to do that, all that fun stuff. And so we are working on that here within Move United. We are looking to upgrade the meet management software called SAMS. It will come out, hopefully out by 2022 with a new and exciting name, and be online and have some awesome features. So we hope that that will make your guys' life a lot easier, because we know it can be a little bit trying to figure out how to put all the meet management softwares that are out there together and make them work for you for your events. Under Vision 3, we are looking to develop a competition strategy that will lead to at a minimum one competition inclusive of adaptive athletes in every state by 2028. I do want to say that this goal kind of goes beyond our current competition series. We are looking to survey the current landscape and see what's going on out there, and just not only within our focus sports, but just generally what opportunities are out there in the adaptive sports world, and then be able to start identifying the gaps and the areas that we can play a part in filling and allowing or helping to grow more competitions or more opportunities for athletes. And while we are focused on our core sports right now, we would love down the line to work with Kylene and the programs departments and start bringing in other opportunities in sports that we don't currently offer at most of our events. Okay, next is to grow participation numbers at junior nationals by 10% annually, bringing the total participant numbers to 275 athletes when we can host junior nationals in 2021, because we are thinking optimistically that we will have competition next year. So we are looking to communicate with states that currently aren't sending any athletes, or states where we see that there is no programming, trying to figure out how can we reach those athletes, reach those programs, and help, in any way that we can to get those athletes to our event. For you guys, what we would really love is for you to encourage your athletes to either participate in more events in our series, and then also move along the pipeline. So if they're junior athletes, getting them to junior nationals would be fantastic. So the more you can help us to promote that event while we also help you to promote your events would be fantastic. Okay, we are looking to make competition financially accessible to all that want to compete. So that sort of goes along with the vision of having programs within 50 miles. Well, we also then want to reduce the barrier of financial burden. So, you can read through all these things, but the summary of it really is that we're looking to just reduce costs in any way we possibly can, both at junior nationals and then at our series of sanctioned events. So whether that be that we provide pass-through funding to you guys that can help offset some of your costs and lower the cost for your participants, or if we can do things at the national level at junior nationals or some of our other events to reduce costs. That's what we are hoping to do. Okay, under Vision 5, conduct a risk and liability assessment across the competition department. So Shelly has been working with Ryan at Move United on all of the different questions and different scenarios with insurance and other things that you guys might have already posed to her, or questions and comments she thinks are coming in her direction. This also includes, background checks, safe sport training, concussion policies, all of that fun stuff. And Shelly and Ryan will actually be sharing a little bit of information on this next Monday on our session. So I won't go into this too much, but just know that this is being actively worked on now in preparation for the 2021 season. So Glenn noted that one of the goals is to double the number of veterans served. So under the competition department, we are looking to increase veteran knowledge of and participation in our competition series. We are really excited to be partnering with Move United because of the Warfighter program and the reach that Move United already has with the veteran population. And we really hope that that is going to trickle down to our series of sanctioned events, and hopefully you guys will see a greater participation of veterans at your events. And we're just looking to complement the events that are already out there for vets, Warrior Games, Valor Games, the National Vet Wheelchair Games, things like that. But we want them to know that there's another opportunity, hopefully a little bit closer to home. And so we're going to be promoting our events for that population. And finally, to continue to initiate, expand, and strengthen relationships with national and international stakeholders. So we've listed out here a couple of key national and international partners. That includes the International Wheelchair and Amputee Sports Federation, called IWAS. It includes the USOPC, it includes NGBs and LA 2028. And really, we're just looking to enhance our relationships with all of those key organizations, and strengthen our relationships so that we can work together to develop the pipeline and hopefully build a stronger Team USA going forward. So we will, before I hand it back over to Susan, I just wanted to say we'll continue to keep you guys all updated on our goals, and we want you to be an active part of that. And so if, as you look through these slides at, later on, if you have any ideas or ways in which you think you can help us to achieve these goals, we would love to chat with you. All right, Susan.
Thanks, Jessie. And there's several of them that we'll talk more about on over the next 2 weeks, especially the ones that relate to benefits we want to pass along to you as members of the network. So yes, this is a fluid conversation and fluid goals that we'll be working on here over the next few years. Just a few updates on some signature events. So as far as the branding of it, we did call it the Adaptive Sports USA series of sanctioned events. Moving forward, it'll be the Move United Competition Series, just so everybody sees that and knows we're all on the same page. Last year, we had 24 events in 19 markets across the United States. They served 44 states and Puerto Rico as far as athlete attendance. And we had about 2,300 participants, 1,800 of which were unique. So great events going on. We'd love to see that number grow annually. But these are wonderful organizations, and you guys are the ones that
Baby
are
girl, I can't
doing
help you
great
right
work.
now.
And Jesse, if you just go on mute, I think that was you. But just want to mention a few things about these. We basically want to be more visible, be more connected so that we could increase the reach, both the reach for athletes, the reach for sponsors and media, and the reach for just the general public in the United States with this series to really make an impact and let the nation know what's going on. Jesse, you want to go ahead forward? For you guys that are event directors, we will be having a couple event director meetings this week to talk through sanctioning process and timeline and how we can best be of help with outreach and with tools and things like that. Overall, this series is qualifying opportunities or training opportunities for some of the things you've already heard us talk about today. Our signature event for Move United, along with Ski Spec, is Junior Nationals. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, but all of these events are feeders into that. Obviously, years that US Paralympics, swimming and track and field are having national championship or trials. This is great training ground, as well as those veteran specific events that we talked about a minute ago with the National Veteran Wheelchair Games, Valor Games, and Warrior Games. Invictus as well, which is an international event for vets. And you guys on the call here today are part of this, but the legendary events around the country and all those different markets I mentioned, some of them are listed here. I know Dixie's on the call right now, and it looks like Beehive Games and Desert Challenge Games. We hope these will all continue. We know this next year in 2021, there will be one new edition, which is going to be in the New England area with Joe Walsh and Adaptive Sports out there. And then there's a few that sometimes need our help a little bit more. So for instance, a meet in Minnesota, as well as the Russ Harvey archery meet, are going to take a year off. We're going to always be in constant communication with them to see what kind of support they need from us, not just us Move United, us, all the events out there, to be mentors to each other and help each other out when we need it. Go ahead to the next slide, Jesse. As you all know, there's just a world of benefits to sport, and those that have a little bit more competitive edge have the ability to reap even more benefits as far as going along the athlete pipeline that could continue on to the Paralympic Games. So what's great about the Move United competition series is you see that whole spectrum. The members out there are doing competition for those that are more grassroots and just want to get out and try things and do their best, to those that are going on to the international stage. So this series is really for everyone. And what's really cool is those events that have some of the Paralympians out and have more of the grassroots young athletes, so that mentoring system can happen and the athletes can really be a good mentor for some of the younger athletes coming up. We mentioned this before, but we want to basically expand this series. We want to make sure that there's tools for you event directors, press release templates and things like that, so that we can activate our local and our national media more, so more people are aware. With the programming that's going on and some of the reach that's happened outside of our normal boundaries because of COVID, tap into those areas, make sure they know about these opportunities so they can get out. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead, Jesse. And then Junior Nationals, I know most of you have been involved. Just to give you a couple updates, we are in a holding pattern like many of you are with COVID. So it is challenging, to be transparent and honest, to work with the venues because they haven't opened their gates just yet, but we're in constant communication for Junior Nationals. It was supposed to be in Denver in 2020. So we are looking for 2021 and 2022 to remain in Colorado, so that we give that 2-year cycle a chance to foster in the state of Colorado. We're working along the Front Range, so looking from Thornton, which is between Boulder and Denver. Thornton, Denver, and Colorado Springs will be one of the cities that's selected for 2021. But those of you that are new to all of this, again, this is one of our signature events. It's been going on for about 37 years, since 1984, and it is the largest long-standing event for those with a physical disability. We do have several events that are open to those with an intellectual impairment, but by all in all, it attracts mainly those with spinal cord injuries, spina bifida amputations, visual impairments, dwarfism. And this is a week-long event. So what Jesse said earlier about the cost, it's expensive for a family of 4 or more to get out here for 7 to 9 days. So those are things we're thinking through to make sure that it's economical and attractive to people so that they can make it realistic. Right now on the program is archery, paratriathlon, powerlifting, shooting, swimming, and track and field. We will also do some exhibition sports on occasion. For instance, wheelchair tennis will be a clinic next year. They're the whole NGB with tennis is very interested, and so are others. So we're always going to be in those conversations to see if there's an interest out there of the athlete paired with the interest of the NGB to change that sport program. For next year, it will be the ones you see on the screen. Go ahead, Jesse. We are going to begin a bid process once Colorado is solidified and we enter into the winter of 2021. We will launch our Move United Junior Nationals bid process. I know some of you on this meeting have been event directors for Junior Nationals and part of the local organizing committee in the past, and we thank you for that. It's a huge undertaking, as you know. So we decided this past year to do 2-year cycles instead of 1, because it is such a, I wanted to say daunting, but it's not daunting. It's such an undertaking to really train up the local organizing committee and get them ready. So a 2-year cycle should be good. It still gives kids and families a chance to see different parts of the country, but also really help that LOC gain some traction and build a legacy. So if you know those that are interested, we are going to put this out nationwide to the sport community, both the convention and visitors bureaus and sport commissions around the country, as well as to our member network. The ideal situation is when we find a city that has a strong CVB and sports commission partnered with a strong member of Move United, because that can really work hand in hand. So thanks to Jesse and team, we have expanded this process. We created a planning group blueprint that goes into depth of what all areas are needed as far as fundraising and marketing and sports support and venues and host hotel and everything like that. So note that this will be coming up. If you're interested, we sure would love to hear from you, as well as any of the sport partners around the country. Go ahead, Jesse. Jesse, if you want to mention a little bit about IWAS.
Sure. So as I said earlier, IWAS is the International Wheelchair and Amputee Sports Federation, and Move United at the moment is the sole U.S. member of that organization. So I'm sure most of you are familiar, but we have sent teams to the IWAS World Games or World Youth Games in the past. And we were hoping to make it to Thailand here in 2020. The games were originally scheduled for February. They were postponed until April, then postponed until December, and ultimately canceled. So it was disappointing, certainly for our athletes, but we're keeping an optimistic outlook. And the next World Games will be in 2022 in Sochi, Russia. So we hopefully will be able to send a team there.
Thanks, Jesse. A couple of final things to note is we have had a wonderful volunteer base that has been active with Adapted Sports USA over the decades. And this was a great opportunity with the merge to really look at who was on that group and who else we needed to be a part of a competition committee. And so we're just launching this with some folks that have been involved, as well as some new folks. So this is a volunteer-led committee that will be under the competition department. And these individuals are a lot of you on the phone today. Basically some representation of different sport expertise, some representation of sports medicine, representation of classification and officiating. So we really have that voice at the table of all the different hats we want to serve here at Move United in the competition space. Athlete, obviously, as well. That's the most important. So this is a group that will meet with Shelly, Jesse, and I just almost as advisors, and share some things going on in different pockets around the country, as well as work on some different initiatives that we have going on. We will make sure that around January, when we reconvene, that we'll give you a list of these individuals so that you know who to reach out to through Jesse, Shelly, and I. Go ahead, Jess. Here's a few things that they will assist with. Again, with us at the national office, spearheading them and the strategy behind them, but helping a little bit with, for instance, Paul Johnson. I'm not sure if Paul's on this call, but with the competition series, Paul's been a great resource and mentor to a lot of you all. We'll make sure he's still engaged in all of this to help foster some growth between the different events and help kickstart some new events as well. Junior Nationals, we typically have a team of volunteers that are with us on site to help with facilitating the event. A lot of you that are officials and classifiers are part of that team. The events won't happen without that whole crew. So it really takes a village, and this group will help pull that off. And then international events, if Tommy is on the call, she has been really helpful over the last few years, teeing up those international events with us, and we will still utilize her as a sounding board as far as expertise and advice in the international space. And then sport, we will have lots of sessions on this over the next week and a half, but know that we try to mirror what's going on with the NGBs. So ultimately, we want to make a fluid system for an athlete to go from a recreational level through the athlete pipeline up to an international or national event that usually involves the national governing bodies. So we try to keep the same rules and the same processes. There might just be a few different things we modify for youth, for the junior age, or for somebody like a veteran that may not be eligible for some of the things going on in the NGB space. So a lot of the people that are on this committee help formulate some of those minor tweaks, as well as some adaptations that might need to happen, and look at the qualifying standards that are needed to get to junior nationals from the competition series and things like that. So know that, as well as Jesse, Shelly, and myself, these people are resources to you and are available to dialogue on different things that you're either challenges or successes that you're facing locally. Similar to classification in sports medicine, we're really excited to have a representation from the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee on the call. Let's see, that this Thursday, to talk about return to play from the perspective of an event manager. So you guys should all join us for that. But we look to the USOPC as well as some of our sport partners on return to play guidelines. This is obviously something everyone is new to, and everyone is learning as they go as far as what is working and what is not. So it's just a good group to have together in our back pocket and be able to brainstorm ideas with. Classification is managed by US Paralympics for their internal sports as well as the NGBs. So we don't manage and own and operate classification, but we have a great pool of classifiers that are wonderful resources to the event series and to you guys as members, and they're represented on this committee as well. This is a contact for myself, Jesse, and Shelly, and we will also make sure you have contacts for that competition committee once the new year starts. But I want to make sure you guys see what's coming up as far as the next 13 days, next 2 weeks, because there's some good things we're going to dive into, and Shelly can go over those, and then we'll get into any Q&A that you might have.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you for participating today, and we have a lot of stuff coming up over the next 2 weeks. It's always a bummer that we can't see your smiling faces in person as we have in the last, our fall conference that we always have, but we have gone virtual. Before we move on to Q&A, just want to remind you of what we have coming up. Our next session will be on Thursday, November 5th. And note on here that the times that we have on this schedule are Mountain Time. So keep that in mind. And you will need to sign up for each session individually. So on Thursday, we have the Move United competition series where we're excited to review the event director survey. Thank you for all of you that participated in that. We will have the return to play guidance, virtual events, best practices and lessons learned. And then we're going to share a tentative schedule of our 2021 event dates and scheduling. And we'll take a deeper dive into that on the following Monday, which is November 9th. And we'll really kind of get into the nitty-gritty in terms of the schedule for 2021. Also on that session on November 9th from 10 to 11:30, we'll be taking a deeper dive into sanctioning, the process, the changes, the reporting, and then we'll spend a little time on risk management. That takes us into Tuesday, November 10th, which at first blush looks like a long day, but we're going to cover a lot that day. So we're really going to break it down into individual sports sessions. And really, this is from the perspective of event management and the needs of each sport. So things like officials, classification, sanctioning levels, qualifying standards, records, results, and then provide some other resources there. So we'll kick that off at 9 o'clock Mountain Time with track and field. 10 o'clock will be table tennis. 11 o'clock will be shooting air gun. Then we'll take a short break. 12:30 to 1:15 we'll have swimming. Tuesday, November, or 1:30 to 2:15 powerlifting, 2:30 to 3:15 archery. And then we'll finish up this couple week-long series with classifications, really the importance of classifications, the needs, how to request it, what if classification is not available for my event. And this will have kind of a heavy emphasis on swimming and track and field in terms of the sports. And then we will regroup in January and really look at elevating events. So with that, we're going to move over to the Q&A. So one of the questions that came up in the Q&A is if the events management system that we're talking about and anticipating to move to launch in 2022 is the same system that Phil is working on. And the answer to that is yes. I don't know, Jesse, if you're still on, if you'd like to expand on that at all.
I'm sorry. I think I missed the question because.
So the question was if the event management system that we are referring to as SAMS, but it's not SAMS.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that at all? There was a question if that was the same system that Phil has been working on.
Yes. Sorry. I was reading the unanswered questions. Yes. Yeah, it is the same. It is the same thing, Pam. It is a collaboration between Adaptive Track and Field USA and Move United.
Okay. And then there was a question. Would it be possible to add the Jimmy Flowers Classic to the competition series? It is held annually since 2010 in Colorado Springs, usually in January or February of each year. Sue, do you want to field this one?
Sure. Was that Shar that I saw, I believe?
Yes.
Yes, Shar, we could talk through that with, I believe that is managed by US Paralympics with Aaron at the Realm now. So so that's a conversation we could discuss and talk with her about how to make sure all that complements what's going on here. Absolutely. And Erin will probably be in that swimming session that takes place next week. But yes, you and myself can talk through that with her.
Okay, we have another question. Clayton Fretch, who was added to the Move United board. And the question was there anyone else added to the Move United board?
Yes. Part of the agreement in the context of the merger was to ensure that there was kind of an overlay of the two leadership groups. And so 2 positions were kept open on the Move United board. Clayton took one and Joe Walsh came into the other one. And they went through the typical nomination process with the board of directors, and they met with the committee and went through vetting. I think they were tied down and beaten with little whips or something to get them to tell all the secrets, and then they were invited to become part of the board. So yes, Joe and Clayton are part of the Move United board going forward. And our board at Move United is very much a functional board. And so we have athlete representatives. We do have member organizational representatives, but a good number of them are functionally oriented. So we have someone with marketing experience, legal background, financial background, and some connections in with some of our top sponsors and helping us to fundraise and bring in more revenue to keep the organization thriving.
So that is all I see in the Q&A. I haven't really been able to monitor the chat as much. So if there are any additional questions that maybe came up in the chat that you would like the panelists to address, if you could just pop that into the Q&A feature, you can do that. Otherwise, we are at 11:58, our time. Nice work. Actually coming in 1 minute under.
We have a debate going on. Should Shelly and I be using Mountain Time, or Move United and Jesse be using Eastern Time?
I don't know who has the swankest offices. Maybe those are we all use the same backdrop. It'll be unknown which time zone we're on.
Nope.
All right, it looks like we've answered all the questions then. Sue, would you like to say anything else before we wrap it up?
Absolutely. I just want to thank you all. I know you have busy schedules and lives, so thanks for taking an hour with us today and getting updated. Even if some of it was repetitive, we just like to be transparent and all be on the same page. So thank you so much, Jesse, Shelly, Glenn. Thank you for jumping in and adding your perspective. You guys, he's all for this and behind it full force. So we're really excited about that, and we feel the love and the energy, and it's just going to be good things ahead. But we can't stress enough, this is one big family, and you guys and everything going on both locally, regionally, nationally is part of one big movement to push this all forward. So we all need each other at the table, and we're going to have an open door, Shelly, Jesse, and I, that we want to hear your feedback and your needs, and we will work on developing some support and things to help out with those. So please be in touch. Please join us for the next few sets of meetings, and know that we are here if you need anything or want to share any successes with us. We'd love to hear from you. So appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Goodbye.